Hi, welcome to Tales of Dread. Around 11:30, I took my dog outside so he could go to the bathroom. I just signed out of Facebook, so this is the last thing I have to do before I can go to bed. I've been busy all week. There's nothing but chaos at work. I only wish that when I go to sleep tonight, I could wake up and never have to work again. I got the leash for my dog and woke him up from his nap. He is only 10 weeks old and very small. If I don't use his leash, I'm afraid he might get lost outside of my dark, confusing backyard. He could get lost or a coyote could eat him. My dog and I go outside to the small patch of grass and trees. He leaves the middle of the yard and walks to my left to sniff the ground. I can hear a slight rustling coming from where the shed is at the edge of the backyard. I don't think much of it because it probably comes from the neighbors. Something is always being fixed in their basement. My dog goes to the spot where he pees and lifts his leg to do it. I start to tap my foot because I'm getting impatient. He's taking his time, and I'd like to go to bed. When he's done, he starts to sniff around again. I rolled my eyes, and a loud noise came from the shed. It sounds like someone or something inside is hitting the walls. I think there might be a fairly large animal stuck inside the shed. Is it a wolf or a deer? If it's a bear, it would have already torn down the shed. After making sure my dog is done, I bring him inside. I gave him an LED flashlight instead of his leash and went back out into the dark. The banging happens in spurts, switching between 3 bangs per second and 2 bangs per second. Whatever is stuck in there wants to get out. I walked over to the shed and looked out the window on the side. I put my face right up to the window and cut my eyes to try to see what's making all the noise. The banging keeps going on, and I spread my legs out to keep myself from falling over, but the vibrations from the shed don't stop them. 2 big white eyes suddenly fly out of the dark inside the shed and toward the window. I don't have time to react. Luckily, the glass didn't break, but the force of whatever was inside caused the window to shake. I'm being thrown back down to the ground. I dropped my flashlight, and it now rolls around the corner of the shed. I get up slowly and make my way to the other side of the shed. I didn't want this right before I went to bed. The light from the flashlight is shining on the door, which is still shaking from the loud banging. I get up and shine the flashlight on the door. The shed's padlock is all the way on, and I haven't opened it in 4 days. Where did this animal come from? I turned around and started to walk back to the house to get the key. The thing in there could have rabies, so I should probably go get my gun. I grabbed the keys off the rack and went to the closet in my office to get my Beretta. I put the gun in my back pocket and went back outside to let out whatever hellspawn is making noise in my shed. When I got to the shed, there was less banging. They might be giving up. I take the key out of my other pocket and shuffle through my pockets until I find the key to the shed. With each bang, the shed shakes more and more. The banging has stopped getting slower and is now getting faster. The door looks like it's about to fly off its hinges. If I hadn't put a lock on it, it would have been kicked down already. The door was shaking so hard that it was hard for me to look at the lock. I put my key in the lock slowly and turn it just until the turn is done. After the banging stops, there is no more banging. I quickly take off the door's lock and open it to look inside. I turned the flashlight around, but I couldn't see anything. I walk in a few steps and turn on the light switch on the left wall. Now there is light inside the shed. There is no animal in here. There is nothing that would have made me go through hell to help this animal that I couldn't see. What about those eyes, though? When I looked through the window, I saw those big white eyes, and they were right where I am now. I take a look. The only damage that can be seen is a bag of potting soil that fell off a shelf in the corner. It was a waste of time to do this. As soon as I turn around, I see two eyes in the woods near the shed. I can't move because the eyes are fixed on me. I can't even look away from these lights in the dark. The door slams shut and the lights go out all at once. I try to turn on the light, but the power is out. I turn on my flashlight and wave it around quickly all over the shed. I can hear a click on the doors outside. It makes the door shut. Whatever was in there is making it so I can't get out. I throw everything I have at the door and try to kick it down. It won't even budge. I turn to look at the eyes peering in at me from the window. Is it copying what I do? The flashlight I was holding suddenly vanished. It is now shining in through the window. I ran up to the window and hit it. The light and the eyes go away. I am trapped in utter darkness. I hit the walls of the shed very hard. I kicked the door and the window. I turned around and got a shovel from the tool rack. I kept swinging it at the window, but it wouldn't break. I'm stuck with this thing. The eyes are back outside the window, and they are still looking in. Then another pair shows up to their right, and then another pair shows up to their left. This is terrible. When I brought my dog inside, I might have fallen asleep and this is all a dream. Yes. I ask God that this is what is going on. It's not, though. I'm stuck in the shed with these animals watching me, and I can't get out. Next to me, in the dark, I saw a pair of eyes. I try to hit them with the shovel, but nothing happens. They still look at each other. Behind me, another pair shows up. Then, on the other side of me, more and more pairs show up to be in the shed with me. I swing the shovel through the crowd of monsters that don't have any shape, but all it does is drain my energy. I drop my shovel and fall to my knees. I've had enough. I give up. This happened to me and my friends when we were in middle school many years ago. It's not the most frightening story out there. But it is 100% true. In northeastern Maine, we lived in a small town. It was fall, and it was pretty cold. This happened around Halloween, but it had already happened. Snow, which is strange because it doesn't usually snow until mid-November. But yeah, anyway, on the way home from school that night, we were just messing around and taking our time. So, we were walking down the path we usually take to get to our neighborhood when we noticed something in the distance that we hadn't seen before, even though we walked that path a lot. In the nearby hill, it looked like there was some kind of cave or tunnel. The strange thing about it was that I had never seen it before, but I could be wrong because I don't always look in every direction when we walk home from school every day. So, since we were in middle school, we walked slowly toward the entrance to this cave that looked like a tunnel. At least 3 to 4 feet high and about 2.5 feet wide, the entrance. It wasn't very big, but anyone of average size could fit inside. I put my hand in the hole. When I did, it was so dark that I couldn't see my hand. We didn't have flashlights, so even though we looked into the tunnel, none of us really dared to go in. I rubbed my eyes and looked forward. That's when I saw the bright, glowing amber eyes staring back at us from the far end of the cave. The eyes are big and look angry. We were jolted back, and my friend Sam fell down, which is how we heard it. The howling coming from inside that cave. We started walking backwards out of fear, still awestruck by the eyes we saw inside, and then we saw it. Something from inside the cave threw something at us, which scared me to death. As it turned over, it fell next to our feet. We looked down at the object near our feet. It was a human skull. We looked at the skull and then at the cave. Then we screamed at each other and ran as fast as we could out of the woods and into our neighborhood, where there were no coyotes or wolves. There's no way they don't throw human skulls at people. Whatever was in that cave was trying to get us to leave. It was more of a warning, which I took to heart and didn't go back into those woods again. This is a short but true story that happened to me and a couple of my friends when we went camping a few months ago during our summer break from college. We were grilling, drinking beer, and just hanging out around the campfire, talking about whatever. Towards the end of our fun, as we were sitting around the campfire smoking cigarettes and relaxing, I swear I saw something in the distance that looked like red eyes. It could have been a moon reflection from an animal close by, but it seemed too tall. I couldn't see a silhouette. We were camping in the woods, and it was completely dark. But based on what I could tell from its eyes, it seemed to be about 7 to 8 feet tall. I don't know of any animal that could do that except for a bear that stands on its back with 2 legs. But I'm sure that if it had been a bear, it would have come charging. I looked away from it for about a second, and when I looked back, the eyes were gone. I thought I was just imagining things, or maybe I was seeing something in a mirror. Who can say? I mean, we were drinking, and some of us were smoking. You understand what I mean? Who knows, then? We spent the rest of the night listening to music, laughing, telling jokes and scary stories, and doing all the other things college guys do when there are no girls around, before going to sleep in our tents. The night went as planned. We didn't hear a thing. We slept like babies, though, and when we woke up, things got scary. When I woke up in my tent, a cold breeze was brushing against my skin. I didn't leave the zipper on my tent open all night. No, that would only be done by a fool. At night in the mountains, it's at least 30 to 35 degrees. You would have died of cold. I did see 3 claw marks that went down the side of my tent wall. Each mark was at least 2 feet long. And the breeze was coming from there. That made my skin tingle all over. Something tried to get into my tent. Something was telling me that it was out there. We were being told to leave by something. I showed it to my friends because I wanted to see if they were pulling a joke on me. All of them were stunned. Before I showed them the cuts on the back of my tent wall, they had no idea what I was talking about. Needless to say, we were all freaked out, so we packed up our stuff and left that campsite as fast as we could. Never to come back.